Nearly everywhere you look across the country these days, it is a GOP bonanza. The House, the Senate, the White House, the corner office at the Massachusetts State House, they're all Republican-controlled. So do Democrats have a credible plan to return to power anywhere? Joining me now on a television first, I'm told, together, two Democrats, both former attorneys general from Massachusetts, both former candidates for governor. Martha Coakley is now a partner at Foley Hoeg. Hi, Martha. Nice to see you.
Jim.
Scott Harshbarger, former president of the group Common Cause, Citizen Advocacy and Watchdog Group. He's now senior counsel with Kasner and Edwards LLP. Good to see you two together.
It's good to see you, and it's great to see Scott.
Nice to see
my
Martha.
first boss in public
I was going to say,
sector.
what was he like as a boss?
He was terrific.
Really? Raise your right hand and say that.
No, seriously.
Okay,
I mean,
fine.
I was inspired to go work for him.
And she was a top-flight trial attorney.
Well, we've taken care of that. So you're back in you dropped out of the Democratic Party temporarily to help get a third party started.
Right.
So you're back in the fold here.
Right.
You've all seen the poll that says more than half of Americans say the only thing Democrats stand for is opposing Trump. Is that a foundation to build a party revival on, Martha Coakley?
No, it hasn't. And unfortunately, all the Republican Party has stood for is getting rid of Obamacare. So they haven't been able to govern. And Democrats, and many of them know this, I think, is you listen to Seth Moulton, you listen to other people in the party, there has to be an argument, a reason to elect Democrats, not just because you want to get rid of a...
You're nodding in agreement. What is that reason to elect Democrats?
It's not a better deal. I mean, that's not
the Chuck Schumer
the slogan that comes out, and it's not enough to run against Donald Trump, but that's what is the unity piece. I think there are a couple things. One is that Martha began to mention, Seth Moulton, younger folks. When our spokespeople are still Chuck Schumer and Nancy Pelosi, with all due respect,
Brooklyn and San Francisco.
That's not a change. It's not a change. That we're still fighting. That we're still defending the election that we actually lost in 2016. So that going forward requires looking very hard at state, at congressional races with candidates that are local. State races, because we lost all kinds of state and local races all the way through this.
And the governorship.
But you've got to do it by standing for the value, for the things that we've always talked about. The economic issues, health care, the things that matter to people's quality of life.
Jerry Brown and the guy who runs the Democratic Congressional something or other campaign committee have both said broad tent, pro-life Democrats we should be endorsing. Should they?
I don't think so. I mean, that's my personal opinion. I think that we've always had a very strong pro-feminist approach. I think we should do that. I think that's why we need more women running. But I would argue that you also need to look at why people voted for Trump. A million people in Massachusetts voted for Trump. I think we are ignoring the fact that it is about economy, it is about opportunity, it's about sending your kids to college, being able to fulfill your own American dream. And Democrats have missed that. They've been too involved with identity politics.
Is it also possible it's about being really tough? I mean, Democrats savaged the president over this fire and fury thing with North Korea. Today, he doubled down on that. Here's Donald Trump.
They've been doing this to our country for a long time, for many years. And it's about time that somebody stuck up for the people of this country and for the people of other countries. So, if anything, maybe that statement wasn't tough enough.
I know his poll numbers are horrible, Scott Harshbarger, and I know Democrats think he doesn't get it, he's unhinged, whatever. Is it possible that he totally gets it, that kind of tough talk is what people have been waiting for?
I think there's a certain amount of that, absolutely. I mean, look at how much Steve Bannon has turned the word politically correct into a curse word and a banner on the other side. And to Martha's point, though, we don't have to change who we are, but we have to focus on the issues that matter to people. 70% of the folks, we don't have to change everybody, but we can't run against Donald Trump. We've got to remember Bernie Sanders, by the way, did articulate this last
While
spring.
moderate Democrats, as we speak, are trying to distance themselves from Bernie Sanders literally today.
That's right.
You know, I know we don't want to talk about Trump. We want to talk about the forward agenda. So let's talk about Trump for a second. You're both pretty good lawyers, former attorneys general. Based on what you know now, has this guy obstructed justice? Has he committed an impeachable offense, Martha
Well, because
Coakley?
we're both lawyers, we're going to say we don't know. Because I trust Bob Mueller and I trust an investigation.
Yeah.
Look, we need to look at this. You can't jump to conclusions just by...
It depends.
You there, too?
Look, I think Bob Mueller... I'm prepared to go with Bob Mueller all the way. Now, as you know, my wife has already decided, Judy, that this is an impeachable offense as the real lawyer in the family.
Does she get to vote in the Senate? I can't remember. Does she?
Well, she's convinced she does.
Can we talk about his speaking of attorneys general, what is the thing that Jeff Sessions, I know there's a long litany for Democrats, what's the thing, Scott Harshbarger, that most troubles you so far on the Sessions agenda?
I think it's his failure to understand that life has changed since he was a U.S. Attorney in Alabama and Attorney General in Alabama, where he began this crusade in terms of the Attorney General, the focus on the law being the law enforcement totally. What Jeff does not have is a vision of where the Justice Department could go. There's a lot of areas that we clearly could be focusing on. Serious white-collar crime, corporate kinds of issues, and being sort of a leader in this area.
When you say he doesn't have a vision, to me he has a vision. There's discrimination against white people on college admissions. We have to get rid of people like Francisco Rodriguez, who has played by all the rules since he came here, escaping violence.
And we have to rub out marijuana.
Exactly. So
yeah, he's stuck in the 60s. I agree with Scott in that.
1860s.
Well, maybe, but 1960s at best. And both he and I think the president are striking a nerve with people who would like it to be that time period.
Yeah, this law and order theme, we've all had to encounter. We luckily in Massachusetts could run on professionalism and other issues. But I used to, as Attorney General, Martha may have faced this. Many people said that the mere fact that I was against the death penalty, in most states, you could run on that issue alone and be successful. There's a whole appeal that has to many people.
Let's come back to Massachusetts for a minute. You both ran for governor. You both lost narrowly to a Republican, Paul Cellucci, Charlie Baker. That seems to be, for lack of a better expression, the equilibrium that people like here. Mm-hmm. They like a Republican governor and a Democratic legislature. As Charlie Baker beat you, is there anything wrong with what Charlie Baker has done in 3 years that should cause him not to get 4 more?
Well, I think you put it a moderate Republican, right? He's liberal on many social issues. I think that's been historically true in Massachusetts, maybe except for Governor Romney. And so I think, look, in this business, 3 weeks is a lifetime. It's a long time away before he actually runs again, so we'll see. But he's stuck to his campaign promises. He said, I'm going to work on these financial matters that the Commonwealth is facing.
So is it okay for people in Massachusetts to re-elect him?
I think he'll have some challenges from 3 Democrats, all of whom have good ideas, good experience, who are going to put that to the test.
But would it be such a horrible thing if he got 4 more years?
I'm not going to predict.
How about you?
I think he's done a good job, and I think what he should be, Trump and others should be taking lessons from. Here's a guy who's being somewhat successful dealing with all Democrats. What in the world is going on in Washington where you have a republic, they can't figure out how to get along in a context that gets things done? Charlie Baker has always wanted to govern, that his focus is on governing, to trying to get these things done.
Are you voting for him? Huh? Are you voting for him?
At this point, I have no idea whether I'm
going
to vote.
But you could.
I like Charlie Baker.
But
I like Charlie Baker. I like Martha Coakley. That was a different issue. But Charlie Baker, I've always thought is somebody. No, but is somebody who
secret ballot
cares very much about governing.
And he has to work with Democrats in Massachusetts. Yeah. I mean, let's be honest about that. He understands, and that makes for good governance in Massachusetts, I would argue, that he has to work and compromise to get things done.
I only have 30 seconds left. I want to ask you quickly about a criminal justice matter that came to a head last night. We had lawyers for Frederick Clay here, who spent 38 years in jail. He is now a free man, wanted a new trial to clear his name. D.A. Conley in Suffolk said, I'm not going to try him. He has $3,000 after being 38 years in jail. If he wants any serious money to continue his life, he's got to hire a lawyer. He's got to prove his innocence by clear and convincing evidence. And then maybe he'll get as much as $500,000 for his whole life being destroyed. Very quickly, is that any way to run a railroad when a guy is wrongly convicted and spends his whole life in prison? What do we do?
But it's an interesting question because we have different states have different standards here. Our standards happen to be relatively tight.
Why should the legislature not just pass a law saying he should get X amount of money from the public because the public, in our name, he was put in jail? Is there anything wrong with that?
No. Not as far as I'm concerned. Is there
anything wrong with that?
Jim, this process is not exactly as you said, right? He gets to go to the AG's office. They can and will look at all the evidence in this case. They often settle those cases for amounts, maybe less than that amount they're entitled to. But that's a relatively new change here in Massachusetts. People who were wrongfully convicted, A, never got out, and B, never got that compensation. So we can follow that case, but there is a process by which he can be compensated, and it's not as onerous as you just said.
I hope it happens. Nice to see you, Martha
Coakley.
Their first joint appearance. I hope there are many more. Scott Harshbarger.
Thank you.
Great to see you both. Thanks for your time.